just you get to choose. Right? Like here's the scenario. The environment gives us something which can be perceived as negative, can be perceived as not working, can be perceived as problematic. The world's ending. But we get to choose to see it like that, or we get to choose to see it as an opportunity.
So clearly that it's my responsibility now to do that for other people. If I have information and, other people's success is my success and vice versa.
Because you know what? Like, the challenges or the roadblocks are the journey themselves.
There's no big things. It's all little things compounding on top of each other.
All right, coach, here we go. Another episode. Bang, straight in. So what is it that you really want? And that's the topic I know that's on your mind.
You're asking me personally what I want?
Good place to start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. At a very high level, I want to work alongside the people that I really care about. I want to make a difference and an impact with the work that I am doing by using my special and unique gifts and abilities that come naturally to me. And I want to have a balance of having fun at the same time. So enough time in the schedule to be able to do what I want to do, some financial and some time freedom.
And then talk me through why this is important for you to think about right now, because I think it is powerful to be able to kind of share that as a starting point for anyone listening, watching here.
Yeah, this is important to me because, it's a sense of pride for me for how capable I am. And what I mean by that is, I can work long hours. I can do the grind. I can do whatever is needed in the moment. And I think what I experienced, especially in the last half of 2022, is, in my attempt to keep my schedule free, I would fill it up anyway. I would just put other things in my empty time of things that I had to do, or other ways to get ahead. And I think about, well, what is it that I actually want? Like, if I had that space, which I did have it, like, what would I use it for? And what I was using it for was just more of the same, of doing the same grind and hustle. So it became a question of if I could carve out that time, and now I'm starting to think about, like, maybe I want to work 3 weeks in a given month, or maybe I want Fridays all off. Like, why can't I have that? Why is that something I haven't let myself think about?
Yeah. So I think this is what you're getting to, the crux of this. To say, if we might as well go for the thing that we really want, because otherwise we might get the thing that we say we want and then we lose anyway, because it's not really what's true for us. That's not something that we hear people talk about very often. It's, I know what I want to get it, and then, but is that really true? And in that example, what jumps out of the page for me is that, yes, you can get to 3 weeks out of a month and still work X amount with X amount of great clients, making X amount of money, but that time doesn't go away. The point is inherently to create the time, but what are you going to do with it? This is the conundrum. If you don't define something to do with that time, it will get sucked as a vacuum back into what already exists. That's why you experienced your willpower to create the time, then got sucked back into other things because you didn't actually define what to do with it. So then it loses its power, if you will. So then you've got to actually then create the time to use to define what you're going towards. Right? And that's perhaps where we're in that inflection zone. We're threading a needle between two pieces of paper that are right next to each other, or on top of each other. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, great points, great distinction. So I'm thinking about what's the next most appropriate question to ask myself is, like, okay, if I have the time, what's the greatest way I can add value to others? That might not be the right question. What's the greatest way I can add value to myself? What recuperation activities could I practice during that empty time, whether that's an hour or two, or whether that's a full Friday, whether that's an additional week off per month? I'm seeking what question to ask myself, because there's also a part in this too with maybe it is scheduling more client calls, right? Like, it's the dynamic equilibrium or the balance of going back and forth with, like, I feel like it's too much, but then, like, when I don't have it, it's, well, I feel called to schedule more because I have the time, and the biggest impact I can make is working with other people. So it's seeking the right question to be asking myself with that
Mm.
time.
Yeah. Well, it's back to the choice of it. If you like, you're in control. If you've got the space in there, but you're still filling it up with other things, at least you're actually making the choice rather than acting on a previous choice or following through on a previous decision because the time's automatically gone, or someone else putting stuffing on you. I mean, that's the difference between going, yes, I talked to this person on email or really quick on the phone. I really want to do put them on my schedule for actual meeting to see if we can work together or if I can add value to them, versus who's this person that's ended up my schedule that someone put on there? Or
Yeah.
how did this get on there? You know, like, so it's not necessarily that you want the space. It's just that what it's being used for, you want to have more control over. And then
Mm.
I think it all comes back to when you're setting out the overview for the year. What are the things that are different? What you want to accomplish? And then by saying, okay, well, what type of time do I need to accomplish this? What, or more, maybe more precisely, what energy do I need? Because that same hour that you chose to protect could give you value by spending it with someone else, and then you can actually feel more energized by that time rather than less by doing the similar activity with just a few different tweaks.
Right.
So you need a combination of those things, right? So if I do have a week extra a week, a month, goodness, that's a whole bunch more time. 3 months a year, I've got an extra quarter. What am I going to do with that?
Mm.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are great reflections because, as this is being recorded, we're 24 hours away from being on our own internal company retreat, right? So some of this is going to get hashed out during that time period. And I liken this back to, I think we talked about this in the previous Truth Seekers episode, but also in some of our internal discussions, with the idea of having more than one themed goal that I want to achieve this year. So use the analogy of like, what was it, like stretching a canvas over something? Like, what? Remind me of that analogy, and then I want to make a point
Yeah,
about that.
it's a trampoline for the girls in the backyard. Like if
Yeah.
you all the springs on one side, if you do all the springs on one side, you can't do the springs on the other side because you've overstretched it. You can't balance it out. You can't complete it. And therefore it's
Yep.
become useless.
Perfect. And another, easily visualizable analogy would be like spokes on a wheel, right? You want to connect different parts across from each other, and then you can
Yeah.
string them together in between. So where my mind went after making that point, after hearing you say that, is that wheel of life that we've talked about in the past. Maybe not recently, but maybe my lag dial, my one of my end goals is the amount of income that I want to achieve this year, right? So that's one thing. So to be able to have that trampoline example and stretch it out over multiple areas, it would be like a time dial, right? Which is exactly what we're talking about here. But it's also a relationships dial, a business and career dial. Maybe I want to do some speaking. Maybe there's other ways to advance my coaching prowess. Emotions. What else is there? Health, like working out, running, hitting the gym, stuff like that. So that's where I am, and I'm looking forward to fleshing out some of those ideas so that we can stretch that trampoline properly over those springs, and we can start jumping a little bit or a lot.
Well, absolutely, yeah, because that it's what keeps it straight and narrow. It's the checks and balances. It's it's why it's what prevents you from overdoing it one side or the other because you've got a cause and effect. You've got something in different areas, right? It's how the country's put together, right? You push too hard over there, something breaks over there. So you can't just go willy nilly. You not know that somewhere along the line it hurts somewhere else to be able to do it, and you can do it by feel, but you can also do it by intention, and kind of both of those together is going to get the best outcome. Yeah, the reason why that time is going to not be useful is because it hasn't been allocated. You know, it's like money sitting in your account; it's going to disappear if you don't do something with it.
That's the last point I want to make today, is that this forces me to declare what it is that I actually want. And why those categories are so useful is because, it's difficult to find another category. Like those are all taken care of the ways that we can think about how we segment our lives: time, emotions, money, career, relationships, etc. So if we have one of each, right, that's the stretching out, and that's a spring in each direction of the trampoline. So, I've thought of this myself a lot too, as I don't declare it. I don't know if that's a fear of missing out. Like if I declare something here, then I can't have other things in that category. But what I like about this is it at least gives me a starting point. And as we know, like goals could change along the year as well. But at least if I'm having something to shoot for in each one of these areas, then I know that, I'll have the answer when I have that time of how to spend it.
That's it, and that's the balance to get to. And it's like being bold, being brave enough to put it out there, even if it might not be the right thing. But otherwise, because what's the alternative is that you go, it's not right. This isn't the right thing. Give myself space, and then that space slowly fades back to where it was because there's been nothing. There's no interlude. There's no new path. It just comes back to where you are, and then you go in this up and down, and then we're back to the pain and pleasure, the neutral, the negative, and in the comfort zone. That we get to the point where we give ourselves enough space so we're now comfortable again, we can breathe, and then forget what we actually wanted to get to. So those three, and then let's go to another section here, like those three levels of energy, right? The execution, the rest, and the reflection, and being intentional about where we want to go. Mm-hmm. That rounded approach is what my takeaway is. Just to get deeper on that is so important. The checks and balances of your life through the goals, and knowing that if something doesn't feel right, that means something else probably isn't right as well. Too far balanced in either direction.
Rounded approach, almost like a wheel, almost like a trampoline, almost like a spoke. Today's shape of the day is a circle, a sphere.
And that's it for Sesame Street today. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll report back in the following weeks. I want to follow up with this conversation with what we actually end up with some of my 2023 goals here. So I'm excited about that.
Love it.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thank you for watching another episode of Truth Seekers. We appreciate your interaction. So please comment, like, subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want more, check out some of our links to our masterclass, The Achiever's Mindset, and come join our LinkedIn group. And what do you want to see more of? Remember, we're here to share the simple secrets of successful. So help us do that. What do you want to see? What do you want to see more of? Thanks, and see you again next time.